thank you for being here in Sri Jagannath Puri Dham tonight. I am truly grateful and honored to serve you for the next few minutes. I was just reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj, he concludes by bowing down and taking the dust of the feet of Lord Chaitanya and his associates and all of the acharyas on his head. And then several verses he expresses how he bows his head. He takes the dust of the feet and he worships all those sincere persons who hear the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Within our Gaudiya Sampradaya, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's classic is accepted as the postgraduate study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the summum bonum essence of all Vedic literatures. Vyasadev's own commentary of Vedanta Sutras. Dharma Projita Kaitavatra. From the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it puts aside anything less than pure unalloyed devotional service, the ultimate goal of life. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita begins from where Srimad Bhagavatam culminates. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes in the Adi Leela how he heard from Sri Raghunath Das Goswami for many years on the bank of Sri Radha Kund near Govardhan of Vrindavan. And in his very old age, in his 90s, he was asked by the devotees of Vrindavan to write the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, describing the philosophy, the tattvas, the pastimes, the rasas of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur had already written Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, which in those days was entitled the Chaitanya Mangala. But so much of the depth of the philosophy and the rasa of Mahaprabhu's contributions, and especially the details of his later pastimes in Jagannath Puri, his travels to South India and Vrindavan, were only summarized in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. For every possible reason, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami considered himself not only unqualified, but least qualified. He was living among the Goswamis in Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Lokanath Goswami, Bhugarbha Goswami, and so many others. He never actually met Lord Chaitanya directly. And his only connection to Nityananda on a tangible level of the physical elements was in a dream. He never actually physically interacted. He had a dream of Nityananda Prabhu, who blessed him and told him, go to Vrindavan, and there all your desires will be fulfilled. Now, this example is very important to us. This most significant literature was given to the world for all time to come by someone with deep humility, a will to serve, and surrender. In Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, it's not just a surrender of just doing what I'm supposed to do. His surrender was, he was willing to put his life on the line in every way because he had such deep faith and such a will to serve. He worshipped deities of Sri Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra in Vrindavan. Those deities today are in Jaipur. And he served. Every day, attentively for many hours, he heard Raghunath Das Goswami speak. What a meditation that is, being there. 500 years ago, when Vrindavan was a remote forest. Radhakund was not even excavated yet. The Goswamis hadn't really yet developed it as a holy place of pilgrimage. They were just in the process, writing their books. Raghunath Das Goswami didn't have a sound system. There wasn't thousands of people. Probably just a few sincere devotees that would just come because nobody lived around there. But how significant. That little dialogue that took place every day became the very heart and soul for a whole sampradaya. for centuries to come. He was ordered to write it. You have heard Radhanath Goswami speak. Radhanath Goswami lived in Puri as the personal assistant of the personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami. And Radhanath Goswami actually, he was so humble, and he considered him so unqualified. He rarely ever spoke a word to Lord Chaitanya, even though he was right there seeing his pastimes as a servant of a servant for 16 years. Swarup Damodar Goswami, he wrote his notes, which were very brief in summary. And Radhanath Das Goswami, based on those notes and what he was seeing and hearing, he wrote elaborate diary of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. Radhanath Das Goswami was here in Jagannath Puri when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu departed from this world. And soon after, Swarup Damodar Goswami departed from the world. And Nityananda Prabhu departed from the world. So many of the associates of the Lord. This is Vipralamba Dham. It's a dham of separation. We have heard some stories, and how many stories more there are. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes in the Antya Lila that if Ananta, who was an expansion of Nityananda Prabhu Balaram, if Ananta, with his many, many mouths, with 1,000 mouths, were to try to extol the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya for one day in Puri, it would be impossible for him. And he says, if Ganesh, the scribe of the Devotees, if he were to write for millions of years, he could not describe everything Lord Chaitanya did in one day. That's so impossible to our comprehension. Because our tendency is we want to calculate things in a quantitative way. Everything in this material world is bound by the limitations of time and space. If we want to go somewhere, how many kilometers it is and how long it takes to get there. And tomorrow we have to wait 24 hours. And in the meanwhile, at every moment we're coming closer to death. So everything in our experience is within time and space. When we're reading, there's a beginning of a line, and then there's the end of the line. There's the first word of the paragraph, there's the last word of the book. Everything is like that. But in the spiritual reality, beyond the gross and subtle elements of material nature. It is such an ananda. It is eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. There actually is no limitations. That is achintya. It's inconceivable. Srila Prabhupada, when somebody asked him, could Krishna really do that? Because Krishna did amazing things. He lifted Govardhan Hill with one finger. He showed the universe within his little mouth. Prabhupada said, what is the use of God coming if he doesn't show that he's inconceivable? And actually everything that exists, if we study it deep enough, everything's actually inconceivable. What we're perceiving is within limits. But the cause behind it all and how it's all happening and working, so yes, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are absolutely inconceivable. Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are so inconceivable that Krishna, the supreme absolute truth, the knower of all, the cause of all causes, for him, the only thing that's inconceivable is the nature of Sri Radha's love and the happiness she derives by experiencing his love. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna coming to experience and reveal what's even inconceivable to him. That's inconceivable. So Radhanath Das Goswami, he's asked to write for world history the authoritative biography and Siddhantic presentation of truths of Lord Chaitanya's life. And he's sitting in a little kutir in a jungle. And in those days, they would just write on palm leaves. They didn't have word processors or typewriters. They didn't even have fountain pens, what to speak of ballpoint pens. They didn't even have pencils. It was a whole devotional process. There was no stores to buy paper. He had to make it. So in his unqualified state, he was given orders. Now, when you're given an order, however, in the service of the Lord, however inconceivable and impossible it may seem, we still try our best. And ultimately, the only way we could truly be successful in the eyes of the worldly people, we could be success by what appears to be. But to actually move people's souls, we can only be successful when we're in proportion to how we are sincerely dependent on Krishna. And to completely depend on the higher power of God. We can't be proud of our own powers. To the degree we're proud, to that degree we depend on what we can do. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes he was going to every devotee. He went to Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, who was one of the principal acharyas of our whole sampradaya. His history is incredible. He went to Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Gopal Bhatta Goswami said, I'll give you blessings, but don't write about me. He went to Lokanath Goswami. I'll give blessings, but don't write about me. How many of us are like that? This is the chance to really be in the pages of history. And some just accepted because he had to write about somebody. They were all equally humble, but they were expressing it in their own unique ways. He describes in Govindaji's temple. The Govindaji temple was constructed by Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. He ordered his disciples to build it for Srila Rupa Goswami. It's really interesting when we go to the Goswamis' temples and we sing Jai Radha Govinda, Radha Govinda Radhe, Rup Goswami Prandana Hai. We don't usually sing about Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. He lived in Puri with Lord Chaitanya on 2 different occasions for 8 months. His story is very interesting. His father was Tapana Mishra. And when Lord Chaitanya was still a grammar teacher, when he went to Bangladesh, he was Nimai Pandit. He did not exhibit any of his true devotional symptoms. He was performing pastimes of scholarship. And Tapan Mishra was searching for what is the sadhya and sadhana? What is the goal of life and how to achieve it? For years he was searching. He was going to gurus and acharyas and babajis and sadhus and scholars and pundits, and he was going through so many writings and so many scriptures. But as we know, in this world, there's so many opinions. And he really wanted to know. And he was so sincere, he couldn't just accept because somebody was saying it. And he had a vision that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was in the guise of a teacher named Nimai Pandit. Go to him and he will teach you. And he went and surrendered. And that's the first time we find in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes that he's giving someone the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He said the goal of life, the goal of all the scriptures, The essence of all religion is to love Krishna. And such love needs to be pure. Ahoitiki apratihata. And in this age of Kali Yuga, the process by which we can awaken love for Krishna is through chanting the holy names of Krishna. I am giving you this 32-syllable, 16-word mantra, which we call the Maha Mantra. You chant this mantra constantly. And then for the first times in the pages of our biographies, Lord Chaitanya is speaking. Krishna. And then he told Tapan Misha, don't tell anyone who I am. Because nobody knew yet, except it was revealed to him. And Tapan Misha so much wanted to come to Navadvip with Lord Chaitanya to be with him, because he knew that Nimai Pandit was going to start the Sankirtan movement. Who would not want to go back with Lord Chaitanya to start the Sankirtan? But Lord Chaitanya told him, you should go to Varanasi. There were no devotees living in Varanasi at the time. How surrendered he was. Lord Chaitanya said, I will come to meet you there later. And it wasn't until many years later that he went there, after he took sannyas. So Raghunath Bhatta was the son of Tapan Mishra. And Tapan Mishra's mother, from what we understand from the scriptures, she was of the same substance of pure unalloyed devotion as Tapan Mishra. And at a certain stage, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he got to serve Lord Chaitanya when he came to Varanasi when he was quite small. And he developed pure love for him. He came to Puri. And he stayed with Lord Chaitanya for 8 months. He was a master cook. Anything he prepared tasted like nectar. And he loved to study Srimad Bhagavatam. He was inspired by his mother and father. So every now and then he would cook for Lord Chaitanya. And after 8 months, Lord Chaitanya told him, your parents are old. He wanted to stay there with the Lord forever. But the Lord said, you go home and you take care of your parents as long as they're living. And while you're there, you should constantly study Srimad Bhagavatam from a self-realized soul. And you should constantly chant Hare Krishna. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he went back to Varanasi and he followed the Lord's instruction with his heart and soul. He served his parents, he cared for his parents, who were great devotees of the Lord. And he was constantly chanting Hare Krishna and studying and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. He did this for 4 years. When his mother and father passed away from this world, completely taking shelter in pure love and devotion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. He was there with them. Then he returned to Puri. Where he served the Lord as the servant of the servant. And here in Puri, with the guidance and blessings of Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai and Haridas Thakur and all these great souls, and Gadadhar Pandit was here. And every year Advaitacharya and all of devotees from Bengal. He would sing the Srimad Bhagavatam for Lord Chaitanya. And every now and then he would cook for him. It was his life and soul. Then one day Lord Chaitanya ordered him, go to Vrindavan. Be under the care of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. This is a very deep surrender. This means he's never going to see the Lord of his life, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, ever again with his eyes. He was told to go to Vrindavan for the rest of his life. Lord Chaitanya gave him gift of Mahaprasad of Jagannath, some betel nuts, and a very, very long garland of tulsi leaves that was worn by Lord Jagannath. When he went to Vrindavan, one of the greatest of the scholars of Srimad Bhagavatam, as a servant of the other Goswamis, he would recite Srimad Bhagavatam to Rupa and Sanatan and the others in 3 or 4 different tunes, each verse. So sweet, so melodious. He was such a musician. He was such a devotee. And he would sometimes cook for Govindaji, Rupa Goswami's deity. He dedicated his life to assisting Rupa Goswami in serving Govindaji. And he was such a great preacher. He had the most powerful disciples, generals, ministers of kings. And it was under his order that the Govindaji temple was built by his disciples. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami went to Govindaji temple. And at that time, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami had already disappeared from the world, I believe. And the pujari was Haridas Pandit, who was a disciple of Srila Anantacharya, who was a disciple of Gadadhar Pandit. And Haridas Pandit, he had such divine qualities. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami especially focuses on qualities that we need to hear about and imbibe. If we want to actually enter into these higher realms of consciousness, It's only possible when we receive the mercy of the Lord. And that mercy is only accessible when Krishna is pleased with us. And yes, by chanting the holy names of Krishna, all things can be achieved. But yet we have all these biographies and all these teachings to teach us the mood in which we should be living so that we can actually access the true mercy of the holy names. He was always talking about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Every day for so many hours, he was reading and discussing the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. And how did he have such a taste? Because he only saw the good qualities in others. And actually, it's really interesting because if we read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita carefully, we'll find that both Radhanath Swami and the head pujari of Govindaji's temple, Haridas Pandit, they both had the same quality. They would never find faults with devotees. Even Srila Prabhupada says in a purport, sometimes when we're preaching we have to criticize, but they never did this. They were thinking, if they're devotees of Krishna, that's good enough for me. I worship them. Adosha Darshi. They're seeing the good, not seeing the faults. And if we examine what Srila Prabhupada's example, that means how very careful we have to be. If we criticize, it should not be fault-finding. It should be actually constructive. So he prayed to Haridas Pandit after he got the blessings of all the other devotees in Braj Bhumi. He asked for his blessings, and while he was praying to Madan Mohan, the garland fell, and it was put on around Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And he understood this means this is the service the Lord wants me to render. His Sanskrit scholarship, his Bengali scholarship, his philosophical scholarship of all Vedic literatures, his understandings of Rasa Tattva. He was trained by Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami. And it took him years to write it. And he's writing that I am taking the dust of the feet and worshiping everyone who is hearing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's a guru who's worshiping his disciples and grand disciples and great-grand disciples and great. We shouldn't think we're great, but in that sense, we're insignificant. This is the standard. This is to us. By understanding his mood toward us, how humbled we should be. If he's so humble to us, conditioned souls who are just picking up the book to read it. He's earnestly and honestly surrendering his heart to honor us, just for being willing to hear. Because for him, these are not his words. These are Lord Nityananda Prabhu's words. These are Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami's words. So he's not worshiping us for hearing his words. He's worshiping us for the same reason. He's worshiping the Lord for giving him words, and he's worshiping us for receiving those words. This is Parampara. And our beloved founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, there were occasions where he would tell his disciples. And now, we have disciples who have, spread our movement, on his behalf all over the world, and they've been around for well over 50 years. But when Srila Prabhupada was speaking these words, I believe it was 1973, his disciples, most of them were only a couple years in our movement. And the backgrounds of these people, San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, these places, London, France. Actually, Mandakini Devi is with us. She is such a treasure house of devotional service. She's so humble, you hardly know it. But just a few months ago, I was with her in Paris. And there was a wonderful devotee from Iran who was having prasad with us. And I was in Iran in 1970. But I was there just, hitchhiking through the desert, searching for God. But this wonderful lady, Shamnam Devi, she said to Mandakini, "Have you ever been to Iran?" And Mandakini said, "Yes, I was there with Srila Prabhupada. I was sent there to start our movement in Tehran." Did you know that? What year was that? She's so humble, she doesn't even consider it. She came to London in 1969. It was head pujari, along with Namamrita Prabhu's mother. And Prabhupada sent her to Russia to start our movement. Not only Russia, but behind the entire Iron Curtain. All these hundreds and thousands of devotees owe so much. So yes, when Prabhupada was talking to devotees, they were all pretty new. And he was just so grateful that we were willing to listen to him. If we read his Jaladuta prayers, Srila Prabhupada is praying to Krishna. This is so much what we are finding in this narration of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Srila Prabhupada is also very elderly. He's coming to New York. He's embarking on 70 years old. No money, no help, nothing. doesn't know anybody. And he's praying to Krishna, please, give me your words to speak. This is so profound. We listen, but do we hear? He's praying to Krishna, please give me your words to speak. And please give these people who are drowning in the modes of passion and ignorance, please give them the ability to understand your words. Srila Prabhupada said, I'm your puppet. Please make me dance as you wish for me to dance. Your insignificant beggar, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. So Srila Prabhupada is telling his devotees, some of them are seriously trying to follow, some of them are just beginning and trying. Some of them were not really even going to last. But Prabhupada is saying, you are all representatives of my Guru Maharaj. He was so grateful to us. And there were occasions where he would say, actually, all of you are doing everything. My Guru Maharaj is doing it through you. So this is Kaviraj Goswami's mood. I'd like to read this section, if I can find. First, he's offering his obeisances at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaitacharya, and their devotees, as well as Swarup Damodar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is my spiritual master, and Srila Jiva Goswami. The mercy of the lotus feet of my spiritual master and my words are my disciples, whom I have made dance in various ways. My inexperienced words do not know how to dance by themselves. The mercy of the Guru made them dance as much as possible. And now, after dancing, they have taken rest. That means he's just ending his writing of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I now worship the lotus feet of all of my readers. For by the mercy of their lotus feet, there is all good fortune. If one hears the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, I wash his lotus feet and drink the water. I decorate my head with the dust of the lotus feet of my audience. Now you have all drunk this nectar, and therefore my labor is successful. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita following in their footsteps. So with your permission, I will now begin the class. Yesterday, we narrated some of the pastimes that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu shared with Srila Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And after Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya surrendered his life, his body, mind, and soul to Lord Chaitanya, his brother-in-law, Gopinath Acharya, was so happy because I believe you recall the conversation they had where Gopinath Acharya said, your heart is like a dry rice cake that cannot absorb any mercy from the Lord, even though it's showering upon you. Until you receive that mercy, you can never understand properly. And now, Lord Chaitanya, or Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, is one of the most intimate, confidential, loving associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Gopinath Acharya was so happy. He expressed his joy to Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya said, it is only because of your prayers, Gopinath Acharya, and because he's related to you and in your family, that's why Krishna showed mercy upon him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to give all credit to his devotees. And this is so much of what Jagannath Puri is. Yes, there are many narrations of the most confidential, intimate pastimes of the expressions of Srimati Radharani and the gopis' deepest love for Krishna that are described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and are eternally taking place here in Jagannath Puri. Also, there are so many instructive interactions between the Lord and the devotees and each other. I'd like to share just a few. Whenever the devotees would come from Bengal, they would visit Lord Chaitanya. He would invite them to the Gambhira where he stayed. He would express such profound appreciation to magnify their good qualities, both when they would arrive and when he would say farewell to them when they returned after the 4 months of Chaturmasya. Some examples. Vasudev Datta. Vasudev Datta He was praying to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now here is somebody who's completely absorbed in the love of Vrindavan. Actually, the first time he came to Puri, Lord Chaitanya embraced him and he said, "Your younger brother, Mukunda Datta, has been my friend throughout my life. In fact, Mukunda Datta was the favorite most kirtan singer in Navadvip. He was there at Srivasangam for all the kirtans. And actually, he was one of the 4 chosen people that came to Puri with Lord Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are his elder brother." And actually, all my association practically was with him, but still, you are more dear to me. And Vasudev Datta, whatever I know is only by the mercy of my brother Mukunda Datta. This was how they actually felt. And on another occasion here in Puri, when they were exchanged, Vasudev Datta, who's an eternal resident of Vrindavan, he's a gopi. He's expressing, "I only have one prayer. I'm begging you for a benediction. And I know you can fulfill it if you so wish. My heart is breaking to see the people suffering in this world. "500 years ago, there was a lot of suffering in this world. With all our technological, scientific, sociological progress, do you think there's less suffering now?" There's more people, so there's more suffering. And the more things get complicated, Prahlad Maharaj, 5-year-old philosopher, pure devotee, he diagnosed the situation so nicely. He said, when we try to solve material problems with material solutions, then the solution creates a bigger problem than the original problem. And actually, this is the dynamic of how Kali Yuga progresses through so-called progress. So Vasudev Datta said, seeing people suffering in this world, and he wasn't just talking about people from his village. He wasn't just talking about humanity. He was talking about every living entity. He was feeling for the pains of the insects and the animals and the birds. What to speak of people from other countries and other castes and other religions and other races. Because he loved Krishna. The more we love Krishna, the more we realize that Krishna loves everyone. And the more we realize Krishna loves everyone, the more we actually feel for everyone. Para dukkha dukkhi. Another person's suffering becomes my suffering, and another person's happiness becomes my happiness. And when we understand Krishna, we understand that it is the soul that is the person that's enjoying and suffering. When the soul is in the dream of material illusion, so much suffering. But it's not the body suffering. It's not actually the mind suffering. The body and mind are just medium. The soul is the person that's actually experiencing life. And no material solution can solve that suffering. But still, such a struggle to do so. Vasudev, that's my prayer. Let all the sins, all the karma of every living being in this universe fall on my head. Allow me to suffer perpetually their karma so they can be liberated in your loving service. This is the only thing I ask of you. Now, if we're speaking to some friends or on the internet or something, we can say so many things. But when you're talking to God, you have to really mean what you're saying. Because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Paramatma. He's in the core of his heart. He's not just saying his words. He's understanding his innermost intention. Srila Prabhupada writes in one place that Krishna doesn't just accept what we do. Krishna accepts the intention in which we do it. Vasudev Dutt wasn't just trying to be compassionate and humble. He was pouring out his heart. He was begging for you and me to be happy and let him suffer as a compensation. And when we read these wonderful qualities of the devotees, in order to really grow spiritually, we have to not only understand it in a philosophical way, but we need to take it personally. Vasudev Datta is willing to go to hell perpetually for you and me. That's his prayer. When he spoke those words, Lord Chaitanya was speechless. He was so moved. His voice was choked. Lord Chaitanya's heart was melted. And Lord Chaitanya would say, he said it then and he said it in many places, that I am the property of Vasudev Datta. Wherever he wants to sell me, I am sold. Whoever he wants to sell me to, I belong to that person. I am Vasudev Datta's man. It is this compassion. Parama karuna pahundue jana nitai goda chandra. Parama karuna. Karuna means deep felt compassion. and Krishna's Karuna Sindhu. That means he's a limitless, shoreless, bottomless ocean of compassion. And Lord Chaitanya is Parama Karuna. That means he is manifesting the supremost of even God's compassion. With Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Parama Karuna Pahundu Jana Nitai Goda Chandra. Tava Avatara Sara Siromani Kevala Ananda. They are the essence of all incarnations. And how is it that they are so supremely merciful? They're giving the highest realizations and the opportunity to receive them through a process that's actually joyful. Kevala Anandakan. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. By learning the culture, the art, the lifestyle of connecting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Radha Govinda, in Vrindavan, through the chanting of the holy names. But through such devotees as Vasudev Datta, we're given the standards of what we should live to follow in order to actually access the chanting of the holy names. Srila Prabhupada is our founder Acharya. That means he is teaching by his example. He's telling us to chant Hare Krishna, but he's showing us the life of service, surrender, and compassion. And to actually chant the holy names appropriately, we need to sincerely try to follow in those footsteps. One day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was speaking to the devotees of Srikhanda, which is a village not far from Katwa and Navadvip Dham. And he's sitting in Gambhira here. All these discussions are happening here in Jagannath Puri. There were three primary devotees from Srikhanda: Mukunda Sarakar, Raghunandan, his son, and Narahari Sarakar, the younger brother of Mukunda. He said to Mukunda, "Are you the father or are you the son of Raghunandan?" Now, what kind of question is that? It's obvious. Raghunandan is the son. But Lord Chaitanya is asking that question because he wants to glorify the realizations of Mukunda Sarakar for us to learn from. Mukunda said, actually, Raghunandan is my father, and I am his son, because he inspires me to be Krishna conscious. And Lord Chaitanya was so happy. He said, yes, one who inspires us to be Krishna conscious, this is our senior. Now, Raghunandan, he was a baby, helpless. Mukunda Sarakar and his beloved wife. Mukunda Sarakar is Brinda Devi. in the spiritual world of Vrindavan. She's the presiding goddess of the whole Vrindavan eternally in Goloka. Srimati Radharani's direct expansion. What he means by father, it means my son is senior to me because he inspires me. But whatever Raghunandan knew really was learned by his father. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so happy he began to describe one of the qualities of Mukunda Sarakar. He said, he's a physician, a doctor. He's like one of the presiding acharyas of Bhaktivedanta Hospital, actually. Lord Chaitanya said, but he's a doctor for the physical body, the mind, and the soul. And he was actually the physician doctor for the king. And one time the king was sitting on a high platform, kind of probably something like I have to sit on now. But I'm sure the king was much higher. And he was sitting, in his very high platform on a throne. And he called his doctor to come to do some consultation. And Mukunda Sarakar is talking to the king. And one of the servants of the king begins to fan him with a peacock fan. And Mukunda Sarakar sees the peacock feather and remembers Krishna. In ecstasy, he falls unconscious. It's unimaginable. His remembrance of Krishna created such a surge of spiritual love that his body and mind just shut down. And he fell off the stage. And it was a great distance. And he fell on the ground. And the king was like shocked. What happened? The king ran down to try to resolve his doctor's injury. And Mukunda Sarakar came back to consciousness gradually, and the king said, "What happened? What happened?" He was so worried. And he was so humble. He could have told the truth, that I saw the peacock feather and I went into ecstasy and I fell in a trance. But great devotees don't want to broadcast that they're great. He said, actually, I have something like epilepsy. It's a disease. And sometimes unexpectedly, I just fall unconscious. He said it was a disease. But because the king was in the association of Mukunda, the king understood. He's like a Mughal king. But he understood that this person has such love for Krishna that just by seeing the peacock feather, he fell unconscious. That's the power of association of such a humble Vaishnava. These types of discussions fill the pages of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is glorifying the devotees and the devotees are glorifying the Lord. Very close to Jagannath's temple is the well of Paramananda Puri. Was that part of the yatra this year? Well, through sound vibration, it will become today. How many of you have been to the well of Paramananda Puri? Say Haribol, please. Very loudly, how many have not? Thank you, thank you. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was on his tour of South India, in Tamil Nadu state, not too far from the holy place of Madurai, is a place that is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita as Rishab Hill. Have any of you ever been there? That is the place where the incarnation of Lord Krishna, Rishabdev, disappeared from the world in a forest fire. Paramananda Puri was one of the most important disciples of Madhavendra Puri. That means he was a godbrother of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Guru Maharaj, Srila Ishwara Puri. He was from Trihuta near Bihar, but he was at Rishab Hill doing Chaturmasya. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him there. And for Lord Chaitanya, as the Supreme Lord who loves to relish the qualities of his devotees, and in the role of a devotee to show us how to offer heartfelt respect for other devotees, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so much honored the godbrothers, godsisters of his spiritual master. He bowed to Paramananda Puri. Paramananda Puri embraced him. And I believe it was for 3 days they talked about Krishna together. And when it was time for Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to continue his South Indian tour, he requested Paramananda Puri, please come to live with me in Jagannath Puri. For the rest of our lives, let us be together. Paramananda Puri, he said, after the Chaturmasya, my plan was to go to Jagannath Puri and then to go to bathe in the Ganga in Bengal. He said, there is nothing greater for me to achieve in my life than your association. He said, after bathing in Ganga, I will come back. When you return to Puri, I will reside with you. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned from South India tour, here to Puri, we described how Kal Krishna Das, out of the compassion of the devotees, even though he made some serious mistakes, they engaged him in such wonderful service to purify him and keep him connected to Lord Chaitanya and keep him in the satsang, the association. When he came to Sachimata's house, Paramananda Puri was actually living at Sachimata's house, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mother. And when he heard that Lord Chaitanya had arrived in Puri, Advaita Acharya and the other devotees were planning to come immediately, but Paramananda Puri could not wait. He just came with one other. And when he arrived, he met Lord Chaitanya at Gambhira. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how happy he was to be in the presence of such a senior devotee. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God himself. He's the supreme acharya of the whole existence. But yet in the role of a devotee from his heart, one of his greatest pleasures was to subordinate himself to his seniors. And Paramananda Puri became one of his very closest associates. Kaviraj Goswami describes when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna feeling the love of Sri Radha, the emotions that Lord Chaitanya were feeling were the emotions that Srimati Radharani experienced after Akrura took Krishna and Balaram away from Vrindavan. And Krishna feeling the same experience of separation of Sri Radha and the Brijabasis as they're feeling for him. After some time, he sent his dearmost, closest friend and cousin brother, Uddhava, to send a message to Nanda and Yashoda and the Gopas and the Gopis, a message of his love and affection for them, how he's always remembering them, how whatever you're feeling, I'm feeling, but I have my duties to perform here. With the assurance he will return. When Uddhava came to Vrindavan, there's a place near Nandagaon, Uddhava Kyari. How many have been there? That is the place where Uddhava, in a kunja of a forest, very remote place, that is where he found Srimati Radharani in the profoundest, deepest ecstasies of her love and separation. The summit, ultimate source and culmination of love of a God, Uddhava is saying. And seeing that Uddhava is a messenger for Krishna, that only intensified Srimati Radharani's experience. In fact, Sri Rupa Goswami wrote the Uddhava Sandesh and the Hamsa Duta, which is Krishna's message to Sri Radharani and the Gopis and the residents of Vrindavan. And Krishna speak their message to him. So it is described that when Lord Chaitanya was on Gambhira, his emotions, in the words of Kaviraj Goswami, were identical to Srimati Radharani's emotions when she was meeting with Uddhava in Nandagaon, Vrindavan. Who is Paramananda Puri? He is the incarnation of Uddhava. As Uddhava was witnessing Sri Radharani and Gopi's love, Uddhava was witnessing that same love in Sri Radharani in the form of Paramananda Puri. Lord Chaitanya wanted to offer every service to him. He spoke to Kashi Mishra, who was like the royal priest. As we described, every day the king of Orissa, Prataparudra Maharaj, would come to Kashi Mishra's home, and he would massage the feet and legs of Kashi Mishra and inquire from him, not only about the philosophy of bhakti, but he especially inquired about all the details of services that were being offered to Lord Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. So personal. Such majesty. But yet, he's doing the most menial service for a servant of the Lord, and inquiring about every detail of how Lord Jagannath is enjoying and what services and what can I do to arrange better service. So Lord Chaitanya told Kashi Mishra that I will be very grateful if you can give a residence, permanent residence to Paramananda Puri in your estate, so that we could always be close. So Kashi Mishra arranged a room and all facilities for Paramananda Puri. And he was residing where today that well is. It's very close to Jagannath Temple. He's Uddhava. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke about Paramananda Puri. He said, the reason that I have come to the earth is because of the love of Paramananda Puri. The reason I remain on this earth is the affection of Paramananda Puri. Although he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramananda Puri worshipped him as God. He understood it pleases the Lord when I accept a senior position to him. Lord Chaitanya, he would not take prasad before Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Brahmananda Puri, the other disciples of Madhavendra Puri. They wouldn't take before him, and he wouldn't take before them, so they always took prasad together when they were assembled together. So one day, Lord Chaitanya is at Paramananda Puri's Bhajan Kutir. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is omniscient. He knows everything. He knew that Paramananda Puri's well was completely contaminated and useless. So with that knowledge, he inquired, Paramananda Puri Maharaj, how is the water in your well? Paramananda Puri honestly puts his head down and says, the water is horrible. It's muddy, it's dirty, it's contaminated, it's useless. When Lord Chaitanya heard that, he cried out, alas, Lord Jagannath is a miser. Now, Jagannath can say that about himself. He said, Lord Jagannath is a miser because he knows that anyone who touches or drinks or bathes in the water from the great Paramananda Puri's well will be free of all sins and liberated forever. Therefore, Lord Jagannath sent his Maya to contaminate the well in such a way that no one will touch the water. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stood up and raised his arms high, and he called out, "O Jagannath, I pray that you grant me one benediction. Bring the pure water of Ganga to fill the well of Paramananda Puri. O Jagannath, the Bhagavati Ganga that flows underground, let her fill Paramananda Puri's well with nectar." Then Lord Chaitanya went home. And all the devotees hearing this, they were all assembled with Lord Chaitanya. They all said, "Hari, Hari." And they all went home. And according to Chaitanya Bhagavat, they all went to sleep. While they were sleeping, Ganga Mai, she took the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on her head as her life and soul, and in the middle of the night, she came up from under the ground into the well of Paramananda Puri's well and completely filled it with her ecstatic love for Krishna. Ganga, Yamuna, they are expansions of the pleasure potency of the Lord. And out of compassion for all living beings, they flow in this world. And the water of Yamuna and Ganga is actually their love and compassion for us in liquid form. The next day in the morning, devotees came to visit Paramananda Puri, and they saw what was just dirty, muddy water at the bottom of the pond. Now it was filled up with pure nectar. They all began to chant, "Hari, Hari." Hari, Hari. Much louder than that. This is a very important pastime, please. Thank you, thank you. And they called Paramananda Puri, "Look." And when he saw it, he fell unconscious in ecstasy. What is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya? How much his ecstasy was in appreciating the causeless mercy of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya heard about this. He immediately came. When he looked down into the well, he was so happy. He called out that whoever drinks the water, bathes in the water, touches the water of Paramananda Puri's well, will be liberated from all sins, and the power of Paramananda Puri's love that is within this water. Anyone who bathes or drinks will be given ecstatic love for Krishna. That is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appreciation of his devotees. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu drank the water. He bathed in the water. And then he had kirtan, dancing in circumambulation of the well, chanting the holy name. May I continue? During our yatra, how many have gone to Tota Gopinath temple? After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived from South India and all the devotees from Bengal came, Gadadhar Pandit, such a dear devotee of the Lord from Sri Navadvip Dham, I think talking about water so much, I needed some water. In the Navadvip Leela, Gadadhar Pandit was constant companion of Lord Gauranga. When Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back from Gaya after taking initiation from Ishvara Puri, he was manifesting his love and separation, his Radha Bhav. And at the very beginning, when Gadadhar Pandit, his lifelong friend, saw that Lord Chaitanya, or Lord Gauranga, was now tasting the sweetness of pure bhakti and was now beginning the Sankirtan movement to spread it to the world, Gadadhar fainted unconscious in happiness. And Lord Chaitanya said to Gadadhar, he said, all your life, from your birth, you have been completely renounced and indifferent from any type of selfishness, egoism, or material enjoyment. From your earliest years, you have been a pure devotee, giving everything for the loving service of Krishna. But myself, I have wasted all of my life up until now in the vain pursuit of mundane studies. He's asking Gadadhar Pandit to bless him. Gadadhar was a lifelong brahmachari. In fact, there's a beautiful story that at the house of Sachi Devi, who was Lord Chaitanya's widowed mother, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was one day in his Gopi Bhava. He was crying out, "Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna?" And Gadadhar Pandit was sitting by his side. And with great compassion and affection, Gadadhar Pandit said, "Krishna's always in your heart." And Lord Chaitanya, "He's in my heart. I must see him." And with his hands, he began, like that famous painting of Hanuman, he began to try to get to the core of his heart. He was ripping his chest. And seeing this Sachi Mata was, how does a mother react to such a situation? He was in the complete madness of ecstatic prema. "Where is Krishna? He's in my heart." And Sachi Mata was petrified. Gadadhar Pandit held Lord Chaitanya's hands and said, "Be patient. Krishna's here Just be patient. You will see him. And Lord Chaitanya was completely pacified. Sachi Devi was so impressed. She said, this Gadadhar is so intelligent. No one is intelligent like him. She said, oh Gadadhar, my wish is that you constantly be with my Nimai to console him and to protect him. And he took that order as his life and soul. In fact, Nimai, after his return from Gaya, there was a family Shalagram Shila that was entrusted in his care. But his love for Krishna was so much, every time he tried to do any puja to the Shalagram Shila, he would cry torrents and torrents and torrents of tears. He couldn't see. He would be soaked. Whatever cloth he was wearing would be soaked with the tears, and he would have to take a bath and then come back to worship, and again soaked with tears. And finally, he requested Gadadhar Pandit, will you do the Shalagram Shila worship for me? I can't, I'm not qualified. That was their love. When Gadadhar Pandit came to Puri, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took him by the hand, requested Gadadhar Pandit to stay here for the rest of his life. He brought him to a residence where there was a very beautiful garden. It's an ancient holy place, Yameshwara Tota. Tota is garden. And Yameshwara is Mahadev, one of the 5 Kshetrapalas, or protectors of the Dham that Lord Shiva takes place. And this specifically, this Yameshwar Mahadev, Jagannath, he has already given his word that those who take shelter of Jagannath Puri, Yamaraj has no jurisdiction. Lord Jagannath personally himself takes the responsibility to decide the destiny of those who come here. So there, Lord Shiva, Yameshwara, he's the Lord of Yamaraj. He's assisting Lord Jagannath to make sure Yamaraj has no influence here in Jagannath Puri. And it's near the sea. And it was a beautiful garden. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gave that place as the residence to Gadadhar Pandit. And he would come there every day to meet him. And on this particular day, Lord Chaitanya is looking around and he sees this garden as a kunja on the banks of Radha Kund. He's seeing a beautiful banyan tree as Bamsivat, the place on the bank of Yamuna that Krishna plays his flute as Gopinath to call gopis for Rasa Leela. And he's seeing behind the banyan tree, Bamsivat, he's seeing Chatak Parvat, which is a sand dune. And he's observing it as Govardhan Hill. And a little distance away is the sea, which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is seeing as the Yamuna River. This is his experience. This is his mood in this most wonderful place. He's seeing Yamuna, Bamsivat, Govardhan, and the gardens of Braja. And suddenly Lord Chaitanya begins to scratch his fingers in the sand, removing the sand very, very eagerly. And Gadadhar Pandit sees him digging, and Gadadhar holds his hands, similar to the way he was holding his hands in Navadvip. And he asked Lord Gauranga, why are you scratching and digging into the sand? And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is crying out, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? In the words of the scripture, he was repeatedly calling out, where is the Lord of my heart? And Gadadhar Pandit is holding his hands, not wanting him to injure himself. He said, the Lord is always in your heart. And Lord Chaitanya just was digging, where is the Lord of my heart? And when Gadadhar Pandit held his hands with so much affection, Lord Chaitanya said, if I find a treasure here, will you accept it? Gadadhar Pandit said, whatever you wish for me to do is the crown jewel of my whole life's aspirations. So Lord Chaitanya said, look, where he had just dug. He said, that is the top of the crown of my beloved Lord. And then they both dug, and together they brought out the deity of Tota Gopinath. Lord Chaitanya entrusted Gopinath. Gopinath appeared on the bank of Yamuna under the Bamsivat tree in the care of Gadadhar Pandit. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he requested Gadadhar Pandit to take Kshetra Sannyas. That's a vow where you never leave the holy place of your worshipable deity. He's only in his 20s, as Lord Chaitanya was at the time. He came to Puri 24 years old. Now he's probably 26. Gadadhar Pandit was his peer. He's telling him to take a lifelong vow never to leave Jagannath Puri and to always be there to worship Gopinath. And Gadadhar Pandit took that vow as his life and soul for the pleasure of the Lord. Every day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come to the Tota Gopinath temple to sit with Gadadhar Pandit, to hear Gadadhar recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, according to our acharyas and our scriptures, Gadadhar Pandit is an incarnation of the Lord's internal pleasure potency. He's Srimati Radharani. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. experiencing the ecstasy of Sri Radha. And Gadadhar Pandit is Sri Radha, who is in a particular bhava as the servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srimad Bhagavatam's culmination is in Radha's love for Krishna, and ultimately in her supreme compassion for all beings. Gadadhar Pandit, when he would discuss Srimad Bhagavatam with Lord Chaitanya, for hours and hours every day they were absorbed at Tota Gopinath. In the presence of the deities they discussed, and as they were discussing, they were constantly crying in love for Krishna. So much so that years later, when Srinivasacharya came to study the Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit on the order of Lord Chaitanya in a vision, Gadadhar Pandit said, this is after Lord Chaitanya had left this world. He said, I would love to teach you, but how can I do so? He showed him the Srimad Bhagavatam, the confluence of the tears of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Pandit together in their love of Krishna, tasting the sweetness of the Srimad Bhagavatam, washed away most of the print and made it almost unreadable. And he told Srinivasacharya, you'll have to go to Bengal and get someone to copy another Srimad Bhagavatam and bring it back. What was the value of a Srimad Bhagavatam? Now, you go to the airports and people try to give it to you. Devotees out of their mercy. And at every temple, you can buy a Srimad Bhagavatam. And online, you can buy Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is so accessible. But at that time, very rare. If you wanted a copy of your own, there were no scribes in Puri who could do it. He had to travel all the way hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles back to Bengal to find a scribe. And then it would take a year or so for them to actually make the paper and make the writing instruments and copy all 18,000 verses. So for years and years, at Tota Gopinath, Lord Chaitanya and Gadadhar Pandit were teaching us by their example how much we should honor and strive to serve through relishing the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavati seva. We should hear Srimad Bhagavatam every day. And when Krishna sees that we have a taste for hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from within the heart, he is so pleased that he cleanses the heart and gives us pure bhakti. It is described by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur that Lord Chaitanya taught the world in different ways through different devotees in Jagannath Puri. Through Paramananda Puri, he taught total absorption in meditation on Krishna's form and pastimes. through Gadadhar Pandit, total absorption in hearing and reciting and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. In fact, it is said they were so absorbed in pure devotional service that when Gadadhar and Lord Chaitanya would read the story of Dhruva Maharaj, they would not go to the next chapter. They wanted to hear it again. Now here is Gadadhar and Lord Chaitanya, the most munificent, merciful incarnations of Sri Radharani's love, and Krishna himself, and how much they're relishing the story of Dhruva. They would not go to the next story till they recited the whole story and discussed it for so many days, 100 times. And when they reached the story of Prahlad, 100 times they would relish it. So we may think, why didn't they not just discuss the 10th canto about Braj Leela? Why over and over and over again in ecstasy they can't stop hearing about Prahlad and Dhruva? Because they're tasting the sweetness of the pure devotion of these devotees and teaching us that in order to actually approach the 10th canto, we have to have such a deep realization of the preliminary teachings and examples of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Lord Chaitanya heard Vasudev Datta's prayer, choked up and crying, he called out, "You are Prahlad." This is how Mahaprabhu relished and honored and adored the love of Prahlad Maharaj. Because he prayed for Krishna's mercy upon all beings. One day, Nityananda Prabhu came from Bengal to Tota Gopinath Temple to visit Gadadhar Pandit, and he brought with him very high quality rice from Bengal. Because in those days there wasn't all kinds of transportation and exports, imports. Essentially, where you lived is what you ate. But there's very special things that grow in Bengal. And Nityananda brought this very opulent form of rice. And he gave the rice to Gadadhar Pandit and said, "Please cook this for Tota Gopinath." Gadadhar Pandit went back to his Tota, his garden, and he collected some wild spinach and collected some tamarind leaves and tamarind. And he made some sabjis and cooked the rice with so much love and devotion. And he was just offering it to Gopinath. At that moment, Lord Chaitanya arrived. And he called out, "Krishna, Krishna." And he said, "Gadadhar, why didn't you invite me? Don't you know that I'm not different than you and Nityananda Prabhu? Nityananda has brought the rice. You have cooked it. Gopinath has eaten it. Now I want my share." This was the loving reciprocations. And they all sat down to eat the rice. And Lord Chaitanya was praising the rice. And he was praising the sak, the spinach sabji. And he was praising the tamarind preparation. And praising Gadadhar's love. And praising Nityananda Prabhu's great mercy. And in this way, they lived together here in Jagannath Puri. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came there every day, there was a wonderful kirtan. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said, he went on the altar of Tota Gopinath and closed the curtain. And after some time, the devotees were feeling such immense separation from Lord Chaitanya, who was just before dancing and chanting with them. Such a devastating experience in their heart. They ran to the altar and opened the curtains, and Mahaprabhu was gone. He left this world, entering into the body of Tota Gopinath. And after his departure, Gadadhar Pandit, he became so devastated with the ecstasy of love and separation. He became very thin and very weak and always crying. But he had this vow to worship the deity, and he loved the deity. But it was very hard for him to put the garland over the head of Gopinath, and very hard to put a crown or a turban on his head. So he was thinking of asking someone else to do it. And Gopinath appeared to him and said, I only want you to do it. So the next day when he came to make this offering, Gopinath sat down so that he could easily perform the puja. And this pose of Gopinath sitting down, it was the same realization that Lord Brahma shares with us in Brahma Samhita. When he saw the holy land of Goloka Vrindavan, Lord Brahma saw Krishna sitting in the whirl of a lotus flower, playing his flute to attract Sri Radha and gopis. And today, by Srila Prabhupada's grace and the mercy of all of our acharyas, and by the kindness of every one of each other, we have this blessing where we can stand before the very Gopinath who was worshipped by Gadadhar and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the place that Lord Chaitanya and Gadadhar Pandit are eternally sharing the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. How many have gone to Siddha Bakula? When Haridas Thakur first came from Navadvip with the devotees to meet Lord Chaitanya, at the Gambhira, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is calling each devotee personally. He's putting garlands on them, he's putting sandalwood pulp on them, he's embracing them, he's praising their glories. He asked, where is Haridas? Haridas was nowhere to be seen. And then somebody noticed he was outside on a main road, laying in the dust, offering his full prostrated obeisances, chanting the holy names constantly. Lord Chaitanya told devotees, please bring him. Devotees ran out to Haridas Thakur. That Gauranga Mahaprabhu is calling for you. And Haridas was crying in such humility, still laying on the ground. He said, I am very fallen and I'm very sinful. And I don't want to contaminate the pujaris who are serving Lord Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya is living so close. Let me just have a place where I could be alone and not contaminate anyone. They went back to Lord Chaitanya and told him. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this. He said to Kashi Mishra, I want a special garden just for my Haridas Thakur. He didn't say it in those words, but he said it. After he sent everyone to the sea to bathe, he went out to the roadside. Mahaprabhu went to that roadside and he sat next to Haridas Thakur and lifted him up and embraced him. And he understood Haridas's heart. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu held Haridas Thakur's hand and personally brought him to this garden that we now call Siddhabakula. And he said, you reside here. This place is yours. And you constantly chant the holy names of Radha Krishna. And when you look up above the flowers and the trees, you will see the chakra above Jagannath's temple. And you offer your obeisances and worship that chakra, and you will be always in the presence of Lord Jagannath. Every day I will come to meet you. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is personally speaking about the glories of the chakra above the temple. We have discussed when he was near Kamalapur, between Bhuvaneshwar and Puri, when he first saw the chakra. In ecstasy, he was seeing Krishna. He was bowing down again and again and again, and he was continuously chanting this verse that this smiling cowherd boy, Bal Gopal, is waiting in front of the temple to gaze upon me. Haridas Thakur, in his humility, he never once in his life entered Jagannath's temple. Although where he was staying his entire life was less than 10-minute walk away. If he so desired, Lord Chaitanya probably could have brought him in. Srila Prabhupada explains. But out of respect for the culture of the temple and feeling himself so unqualified, he never attempted to go in the temple. He was having the full darshan of Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra's mercy through the Sudarshan chakra. Actually, the chakra is above the Supreme Personality of Godhead's altar. And ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As we surrender to Krishna, Krishna will reciprocate and bestow his mercy upon us. When we have this faith, when we have this mood of surrendering to the chakra above the temple, then the mercy of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra rises from their altar into the chakra and fully blesses us. When Rupa and Sanatan Goswami came to Puri, they lived with Haridas Thakur. And they never once went in the temple. They would see Jagannath during the Radhanath Yatra, which is the only opportunity many of us will ever have in our lifetimes. But they were completely grateful and happy that we have the darshan of chakra every day. And it was in this mood that Sri Haridas Thakur was sitting in Siddha Bakula, constantly chanting the holy names of the Lord. A minimum 300,000 names every day, which is approximately 192 rounds. And he's chanting from his heart of hearts with total rapt attention, every syllable of every holy name. He is our Namacharya. Every day, Jagannath, who is none different than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, would come out of the temple to give his personal darshan to Haridas Thakur. In the mornings, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his associates would have the darshan of Jagannath and Kirtan and Jagannath for many hours. And then after receiving Mahaprasad of Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to Haridas Thakur to give him Jagannath's Mahaprasad. Lord Chaitanya promised, every day I will arrange prasad from you. And sometimes for hours they would sit and chant together and discuss Krishna Katha together. He was too humble to come into the temple. But the Lord came out of the temple to seek his association every day. And one day, the Pujari of Jagannath gave Lord Chaitanya Jagannath's toothbrush. From what I have read, at that time they would offer Jagannath 3 toothbrushes, one for Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra every day. And one day they lost one of the toothbrushes before the offering, so they made a toothbrush out of a bakula tree. And the Pujari gave that to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Mahaprasad. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came out of Jagannath's temple with Jagannath's personal toothbrush. And where Haridas Thakur would chant, he pushed the toothbrush into the ground. It's Lord Jagannath's Mahaprasad being planted by the lotus-loving hands of Lord Chaitanya. And instantly that toothbrush began to grow into a bakula tree. The Lord's love for his devotee. He wanted a very pleasing, shady atmosphere for Haridas Thakur to chant the holy names. Again, everything about bhakti is one purpose: reciprocation. The reciprocation between the Lord and the devotees. And that is inseparable from the reciprocation of the devotees with each other. That is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's whole pastime is about. The love between the Lord and the devotees and the Lord, and in that love, the devotees' love for each other. That is Gaura Lila. And together, their great compassion to share that love with all living beings of the world. Haridas Thakur, when he's chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, what is the translation Srila Prabhupada has given us? Actually, it's not a translation, but it's the feeling and spirit in which we should be chanting. Because the Mahamantra is invocation of Radha and Krishna's holy names. But Srila Prabhupada and our acharyas taught the mood in which we're chanting is, my dear Srimati Radharani, my dear Lord Sri Krishna, please engage me in your loving service. We're chanting to serve the Lord. We're chanting to please the Lord. It's not about tasting the holy name. It's about pleasing Krishna so he will taste my chanting of the holy names. And if he tastes the sweetness of our sincere aspiration to please him, then he gives us the taste. It's reciprocal. So Haridas Thakur, his whole life was sacrificing everything and enduring every type of inconvenience to please the Lord by chanting the holy names. And as the Namacharya, he taught that if we really want to please the Lord by chanting the holy names, we will spread the holy names to purify the hearts of others. We find in Fuliagram, Benapol, in every situation where Haridas was chanting, there was always obstacles and people who became. He was the friend of everyone. But there were people who were envious of him, who hated him, who were trying to dishonor him, who were trying to torture him, who were trying to destroy him. Practically everywhere he went, he was meeting such people. Because by Lord Krishna's arrangement, he was born in what was considered an untouchable family. And yet innocent people loved him so much. That was the cause of a lot of envy. In Benapol, they tried to destroy him. And he stayed there and gave this person trying to destroy him the opportunity to hear him chanting. And she got initiated by him and became one of the greatest saints of all saints. In Chandpur, he was blasphemed terribly in an assembly. In Fuliagram, they beat him in 22 marketplaces to kill him. And this is very important to understand. What is the lesson of Haridas Thakur? When he was brought in under arrest, he was so kind, he was so compassionate, he was so pure, he was such a well-wisher of everyone. The ruler told him, you just go back to your cave where you live and you just stay there and we won't bother you. But you can't be preaching to others because it's against the law. Because there was an oppressing religion that was ruling over India. Haridas Thakur replied, even if you cut my body into millions of pieces, every one of those pieces will be an instrument of my Lord's compassion to give the holy name to others. He was the ultimate Bhajananandi, but he was also a fearless preacher. He lived to give Harinam to others. So what is his mood in Siddha Bakula chanting the holy names? O Radharani, O Krishna, I'm offering you my body, my mind, my words, my heart, my love, my soul, my everything in every name for your pleasure. And Radha Krishna comes and miraculously plants this tree for his pleasure. He's chanting to please them, and they're coming to please him. That is Siddha Bakula. Years after Haridas Thakur passed away from this world, it is described a saint named Jagannath Das Goswami was living there. And Rath Yatra was coming. And the royal officers of Puri, they need to make the chariot for Jagannath. So they saw this beautiful bakula tree, and they decided to help make the wheels of the chariot out of that bakula tree. And this devotee, he was trying to explain to them that this has been planted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's the bhajan kutir of Haridas Thakur. You can't, this is a sacred tree. But they needed a tree, and they couldn't understand all these things. So they said, tomorrow we're coming to chop this tree down and use it for wood. It was beyond his control. They came the next day, and such a miracle. The tree was totally hollow inside, and it was bent over in all kinds of ways that you really couldn't do anything with the wood. And they looked, it's just, it's just a hollow shell. And it's bending in so many ways. This tree is useless. So they left it there. But the amazing thing, even though it was hollow inside, the leaves, even to this day, 5 centuries later, are flourishing. Therefore, it is called upon as Siddha Bakula. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would bring his associates to visit Haridas Thakur, and they would chant japa together, and they would have kirtan together, and they would discuss Krishna Katha together. Siddha Bakula became one of the most intimate, dear, confidential meeting places for Lord Chaitanya and the devotees. When Rupa Goswami came, he felt himself so humble, he wanted the shelter of Haridas Thakur. In fact, in Ramakeli, the first meeting of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami with Lord Chaitanya, in the middle of the night, they came incognito and they met Nityananda Prabhu and Haridas Thakur. What kind of preacher was Haridas Thakur? In Navadvip, Lord Chaitanya ordered Nityananda and Haridas go to every house, every shop, every bathing ghat, every street, and whoever you meet, you give them this simple message. Chant the holy names of Krishna. Krishna's your mother. Krishna's your father. Krishna's the real treasure of your wealth. Krishna is your life and soul. Worship Krishna. Remember Krishna and chant his holy names. While chanting 300,000 names of Krishna every day, he was out all day, every day, with Nityananda Prabhu, preaching to the most fallen people without considering who is fit or who is unfit. And they were especially enlivened to give the holy names to Jagai and Madhai. It was the first meeting with Lord Chaitanya of Rupa and Sanatana was in the presence of Haridas Thakur. He lived for almost a year at Siddha Bakula. And some of the most important pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita took place at Siddha Bakula at that time. During the Ratha Yatra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is the most public place for preaching. Haridas is not allowed in the temple, but Lord Chaitanya assigned him to be the lead dancer in one of the 7 Sankirtan parties. And Rupa Goswami was there for one particular year. Swarup Damodar Goswami is declared to be a most confidential associate of Lord Chaitanya, who was so tuned in his loving service that he fully understood the heart of Lord Chaitanya's love. He would sing kirtans and recite verses exactly in harmony with how Lord Chaitanya's ecstatic love was being experienced in the Lord's own heart. Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of Sri Radha, bringing Krishna from Kurukshetra back to Vrindavan for Krishna's pleasure. He was expressing his love and separation with a verse that sounded to everybody like it was an exchange between two lovers. Only Swarup Damodar understood what it really meant. Rupa Goswami witnessed that. When he went back to Haridas Thakur's kutir at Siddhabakula, on a palm leaf, he wrote a commentary verse on what this verse meant that nobody could understand. Srimati Radharani is talking to her dearmost Saki. Oh Saki, I am the same Radha, and my beloved Krishna is here. We are uniting in this land of Kurukshetra. But I want to bring him back to the bank of the Yamuna, where the Kadamba trees are, and where Krishna will play his flute. She's praying for Krishna to come back to Vrindavan. So Rupa Goswami writes this in beautiful Sanskrit poetry. He puts it on a palm leaf, and then in a thatched roof of the hut, he stuck it in there and went to the sea to take his bath. At that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrives. Rupa Goswami's not there. He happens to see this palm leaf and pulls it out of the straw and reads it. At that moment, Rupa Goswami returned. Lord Chaitanya very affectionately slapped him. And Rupa Goswami, he said, "How do you know my heart? How do you know my mind?" And Rupa Goswami bowed down. Lord Chaitanya brought that palm leaf back to his Gambhira and showed it to Swarup Damodar Goswami and inquired, how is it that Rupa Goswami knows the most confidential secret of my heart? And Swarup Damodar Goswami replied, "It is only possible because you have bestowed your full mercy upon him." And Lord Chaitanya said, "Yes. When I met Rupa Goswami and I saw his character, his qualities, I bestowed my full mercy upon him." In fact, it is said that at Prayag, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Rupa Goswami, he infused his own love in the heart of Sri Rupa Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own mind, his own heart, was understood, infused, and empowered into Rupa Goswami. Another day, Lord Chaitanya came to Siddha Bakula, and he saw a palm leaf that Rupa Goswami was writing. He was writing Vidagdha Madhava, Lalita Madhava. And Mahaprabhu, he held it up, and he said, Rupa Goswami, your writing is like rows of pearls. And he read this beautiful verse. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When I chant the holy names, I desire many, many tongues. When that holy name enters into my ears, I desire tens and millions of ears. And when it comes into my heart, it conquers my consciousness. And in surrender, my senses become inert. When that was recited, Haridas Thakur, who's the Namacharya, he began to dance in transcendental ecstasy. The next day, Lord Chaitanya brought Ramananda Rai, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Vakreshwar Pandit, and all the great devotees, Swarup Damodar Goswami of Puri. He brought them all to Siddha Bakula to ask Rupa Goswami to recite his writings to all of them and discuss it. And when the devotees heard that verse, they all declared unanimously, of all the scriptures and all the writings in all of history, there is no verse that so perfectly reveals the glories of the holy name than what Rupa Goswami has given us. The greatest scholars, the greatest Rasika Acharyas who were all assembled together, Ramananda Rai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he declared that whatever I know about the rasa tattva of Sri Radharani and Krishna's Leela, I have learned from Ramananda Rai. They're all having dialogue with Rupa Goswami, and at the end of this meeting, they declared, all of them together, that the parampara of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, coming through Swarup Damodar Goswami, will be given to the world through Sri Rupa Goswami. He became the Sampradaya Acharya at Siddha Bakula. And he was sent to Vrindavan by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order to discover and excavate the holy places, to establish temples, to compile books describing the perfect essence of bhakti as the ultimate conclusion of all knowledge. And to exhibit through their life and conduct the qualities of a true Vaishnava. After Rupa Goswami departed from Puri, soon after Sanatana Goswami came. And I think it's becoming very late. And I was supposed to be at this place after a half hour of the class. I'm sorry, I'm not a very disciplined speaker. But you are so patient and tolerant. I bow my head at your lotus feet. Sanatana Goswami came there. He had an infectious disease from drinking polluted water in the forest on his way to Puri. And he remained there at Haridas Thakur's living together with Haridas, hearing and chanting throughout the day and throughout the night, and meeting Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu every day. After many years, one day Govinda, the personal assistant of Lord Chaitanya, came to deliver Mahaprasad to Haridas. Haridas was laying on his back, chanting the holy names of Krishna. Govinda said, "I have brought prasad for you." Haridas said, "I am not well. I cannot eat it." But at the same time, Mahaprasad is Krishna's mercy. I must honor it. So he bowed down to the prasad and took a little portion. That information was given to Lord Chaitanya. And the next day he came. He said, "Haridas, are you well?" Haridas said, "My body is well, but my mind and intelligence are in a diseased condition." Lord Chaitanya asked, "Can you ascertain what is the disease?" He said, "I cannot complete my rounds of chanting the holy names." Lord Chaitanya said, "You are very old. You've already fulfilled the purpose of your incarnation. You are the Namacharya. You have given the highest example of chanting 300,000 names of Krishna your whole life. Now, because of your age and your weakness, you may reduce your vow for chanting." Thakur Haridas said, "Please hear my plea. Very soon, I feel you will leave this world. I do not want to see the final chapter of your pastimes. Before you depart, let my body fall at your lotus feet. With my eyes gazing upon your moon-like face, with your feet pressed to my heart, and chanting your holy name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, allow me to depart from this world." Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was deeply moved. He said, "Haridas, you are the happiness of my life. How can I live without you?" Haridas, he described, "I am abominable. I am sinful. I am useless. You have millions of devotees who are fit to sit on my head. If one ant were to die, what is the loss to Brahma's creation? kindly fulfill my desire. The next day, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his devotees. Swarup Damodar Goswami was singing kirtan. Vakreshwar Pandit was dancing. Haridas Thakur welcomed all the devotees. Lord Chaitanya asked him, "What is the news?" He said, "Whatever mercy you bestow upon me." He gave Lord Chaitanya a place to sit, and Haridas then took the dust of the feet of every devotee and put it on his head, pressed the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu on his heart, gazed at Lord Chaitanya's moonlight golden face. With tears streaming incessantly from his eyes in ecstatic love, he chanted repeatedly, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. And by his own sweet will, he gave up his life. Seeing this great wonder, the devotees were remembering the passing of Bhishma. The reciprocation of the Lord in his devotees was demonstrated in such a historical way that we pray will dance forever in our hearts. In his love for Haridas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya lifted his body in madness of ecstatic love. And as Swarup Damodar chanted, Lord Chaitanya danced with Haridas in his arms. And he danced and danced and danced. It seemed like he could dance forever in his feelings of love and separation for his devotee. Swarup Damodar Goswami reminded the Lord that it's time for the last rites. So at Siddhabakula, they formed a palanquin to carry him. And as the devotees were carrying Haridas to the sea in procession, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in front of the kirtan party, and they came to the sea. And Mahaprabhu personally bathed the body of Haridas Thakur, and all the devotees were. It is described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita as Lord Chaitanya was bathing the feet and the body of Haridas, the devotees were catching the water and drinking it. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he proclaimed that today, because the sea is bathing the body of Haridas Thakur, now it is a great place of pilgrimage. This is now forever a worshipable place of pilgrimage. Not only did Lord Chaitanya and all of his associates would bathe in the sea every day, year after year after year, but it wasn't until he bathed the body of Haridas Thakur that he declared it to be a supreme holy place. And we all have the good fortune to see the sea, to touch the sea, to bathe in the sea. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after bathing Haridas's body, he among the devotees, they made a hole in the sand and they lowered his body and offered Jagannath's Mahaprasad. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, with his own hands, leading all the other Vaishnava, they covered his body and made They made a monument for him. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in ecstatic love for his devotees, circumambulated the samadhi of Haridas Thakur. And to show his love for his devotee, he came back into the town of Puri and began begging from shop to shop for Mahaprasad to celebrate a feast in honor of Haridas Thakur. And each shopkeeper were bringing baskets of Jagannath's prasad. And Swarup Damodar Goswami told Lord Chaitanya to go back to his room for some time and he would arrange. There was huge amounts of prasad, and Kashi Mishra was bringing prasad, and Vaninath Rai, Ramananda Rai's brother was bringing prasad, and there was so much prasad, and everyone was lined up, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally was serving it. But he was so ecstatic in his appreciation for Haridas that a single handful from Lord Chaitanya was more than what 5 men could eat. So Swarup Damodar Goswami said, nobody will eat before you, so please, Paramananda Puri is waiting, so please eat with him and Nityananda Prabhu. And Swarup Damodar Goswami, Jagadananda Pandit, Govinda, these greatest acharyas were serving the prasad. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knew what everybody liked. He's the Paramatma. He was instructing each servant, give this person this preparation, give him more. And in this way, Lord Chaitanya, even while he was eating prasad, he was orchestrating the serving of the prasad. And everyone was fully satisfied. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he declared to everyone that Haridas Thakur, Krishna has given me out of his causeless mercy the association of Haridas. And now by Krishna's own sweet will, he has taken that association away. Haridas Thakur is the crown jewel of the universe. And now that jewel is gone. Every day, he chanted with pure love 300,000 names of Krishna. With limitless emotion of love for his devotee, he praised Haridas and induced everyone to praise Haridas Thakur. He said, everyone together, Mahaprabhu said, chant Jaya Jaya Haridas. Haribo. You sound tired. Try once more. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he tells that this wonderful narration of the disappearance of Haridas Thakur is revealing to the world the love that the Lord has for his devotees. In Gambhira, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu resided. And for the final 12 years of his life, he absorbed himself, along with Ramananda Rai, Swarup Damodar Goswami, and Govinda, in his internal purpose of coming to this world. When he came out of Gambhira, he very much was spreading the Sankirtan movement and spreading the glories of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But in the nights in Gambhira, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes pastime after pastime of Lord Chaitanya's ecstatic love. But it's almost 9 o'clock and I think I should end soon. Actually, I should have ended much sooner. I'd like to read something from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to conclude today's discussion. This is after Krishna Kadas Kaviraj Goswami has described the story of Radhanath Das Goswami. His incredible renunciation. He was right there assisting Swarup Damodar Goswami in Gambhira. He was the only son of such a wealthy, wealthy man. And he left everything. Radhanath Das Goswami, Lord Chaitanya would ask Swarup Damodar Goswami, why does he not come for prasad anymore? Why does he not invite me? He said, now he's begging. And Radhanath was going deeper and deeper into his renunciation until he was going to a place beside Jagannath's temple where they would throw the rotten rice. When the shopkeepers did not give it away or sell it, after some days when it got rotten, they would throw it in a pile. And the cows would come to eat it. And that rice that was too stale for the cows, they spit it out. And Radhanath secretly in the middle of the night would collect it. And he would just take the inner portion of it and add a little rice and eat it. A little salt and eat it. One day, Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was his Shiksha Guru, Lord Chaitanya personally entrusted Radhanath Das Goswami to the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami. And Swarup Damodar Goswami, he understood this. And he took a sample of this rice and he said, Radhanath, you are eating such nectar. Why don't you invite me to eat this with you? Radhanath Das Goswami was very embarrassed. Lord Chaitanya heard about this from Swarup Damodar Goswami and he came and he said, Radhanath, I heard you're eating feast every day and you're not inviting me. Where is it? And Radhanath Das Goswami said, no, it's not like that. And Lord Chaitanya knew exactly where he was and he took it and he ate a morsel. And Swarup Damodar Goswami said, no, that's enough. You cannot eat any more of this. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I have tasted so much cakes and sabjis and fine opulent prasad of Jagannath, but I have never ever tasted such nectarine prasad as what Radhanath Das Goswami is eating every day. Lord Chaitanya, here in Puri, he gave him his own personal Govardhan Shila. And he gave him a garland of Gunji Mala, sacred seeds of Vrindavan. and Swarup Damodar Goswami arranged for nice sweets for Raghunath to offer to the deities. But he just ate that decomposed rice. Yes, this is Jagannath Puri. In Gambhira, Govinda was a personal assistant of Lord Chaitanya. Govinda was Madhavendra Puri's personal servant. I'm Ishwara Puri's personal servant. Ishwara Puri was the personal servant of Madhavendra Puri during the last days, and Govinda was the personal servant of Ishwara Puri during his last days. And he came to Puri, and he told Lord Chaitanya that before our Guru Dev departed from the world, he gave me the order to come here to serve you. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was there. He inquired, how is it that Ishwara Puri would assign a person from such a lower caste to be his personal servant? And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he quoted scriptures to prove that the Supreme Personality of Godhead and great devotees like Ishwara Puri are not concerned with social customs or regulative principles of these customs. They are concerned with one thing: affection. Because of Govinda's love and affection, he has elevated him to be his personal servant. In order to achieve that love and affection, it is necessary to follow regulative principles. Srila Prabhupada, by his own example, how he reciprocated with any effort for a devotee to show affection to him, and how much mercy he showered upon that devotee, and how many opportunities. Then Lord Chaitanya inquired from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He is the personal servant of my Guru Maharaj. He's my godbrother. How can I allow my godbrother to serve me? This is against the culture of Vaishnavism. Godbrothers should be honored. Godsisters should be honored. Godbrothers and godsisters should not be expected to serve as a personal servant. But what can I do? I can't accept a service because he's my godbrother, but at the same time, my Guru instructed him to serve me. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya replied that taking precedent over all other considerations is to follow the order of one's spiritual master. So you must allow him to serve you. So Govinda became the personal servant of Lord Chaitanya. Such an exalted personality. One example in Gambhira, he would massage Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's legs and feet after lunch prasad every day. And then when Lord Chaitanya would rest, Govinda would go to take his prasad. But one day, after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced for many hours in kirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lay down on the floor in the Gambhira, and Govinda couldn't get inside to massage his feet because he was blocking the door. So he said, "My Lord, please move." But Lord Chaitanya was sleeping. He said, "Please move so I can massage your feet." And Lord Chaitanya said, "I'm too tired." He said, "Please just move a little so I can get inside." And the Lord said, "Do as you like, but I'm too tired to move." So he put a cloth over Lord Chaitanya's body and walked over it, came into the room to massage him. He massaged him for about 45 minutes. And Lord Chaitanya was resting. And after some time, Lord Chaitanya, he came back into his external consciousness. He said, "Govinda, why are you still here? Why have you not taken prasad?" And Govinda said, "I couldn't leave the room because you're blocking the door." And Lord Chaitanya, almost in an angry way, he said, "Well, you walked over me to come in. Why didn't you walk over me to go take prasad?" And Govinda did not speak anything. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami reveals what he was thinking. He was thinking, "My Lord, I'm willing to commit offenses and suffer the reactions to serve you. But I'm not willing to even commit the slightest glimmer of any type of offense for myself." And herein our acharyas declare that this story reveals the actual spirit of bhakti. This is why Govinda was the personal servant of Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of all of his loving devotees. Ahoyatiki apratihata, unconditional. Sometimes when Ramananda Rai was reciting verses exactly corresponding Lord Chaitanya's feelings, and Swarup Damodar Goswami was singing, Swarup Damodar Goswami, his kirtans were so sweet. Anytime he sang, Lord Chaitanya was immersed in an ocean of love. There is a story in Puri where Swarup Damodar was singing, leading the devotees in kirtan through the streets of Puri, and Lord Chaitanya was dancing. And he was awakening so much affection in Lord Chaitanya's heart that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mad, without any consciousness of the external world, he danced and went right into a very old, empty, dry well. And all the devotees knew about this well. It had no water, and it was very deep. And nobody could fall into that well and survive. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just danced, and everybody just saw him go right into the well. They panicked. The Lord is gone. They ran to the well, expecting something they couldn't even think. And what did they find when they arrived? The well was filled to the top with fresh, fragrant, soft butter. And Lord Chaitanya was happily laying in the butter. That was the power of Swarup Damodar Goswami's chanting of the holy names. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would be in Gambhira and he would hear Krishna play his flute. And this is in the middle of the night. There were 3 doors and they're all bolted lock. Ramananda Rai went to take rest. Swarup Damodar Goswami and Govinda would lay right outside of the door in case the Lord needed them. And suddenly they didn't hear him chanting. They opened the doors and he was gone. Middle of the night. With lanterns, they went searching everywhere. And just close to the Singhadwaram, the main gate of Jagannath's temple, there was a cowshed. And there Lord Chaitanya was laying among the cows. When they found him, like Lord Jagannath, Jagannath in the ecstasy of his love and separation from Sri Radha, his limbs went into his body like a tortoise. On this night, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Sri Radha's Mahaprakash Bhav, her love in separation from Krishna, his limbs entered into his body. Just like a tortoise. There were no arms, no legs, no neck. There was foam coming out of his mouth in divine love. Tears like the Ganga and the Yamuna pouring into the ocean were cascading from his eyes. His entire body, the hairs were standing on end. There were eruptions where there was every pore. All the ecstatic symptoms were there. And the cows were licking him. And the devotees tried to move the cows away. But every time they pushed the cows away, the cows would run back to lick Lord Chaitanya. And the devotees loudly were chanting the holy names, trying to restore Lord Chaitanya's external consciousness. But he remained like that. Finally, they lifted up. Kaviraj Goswami said he was just like a pumpkin. They lifted up Lord Chaitanya's body in that ecstatic state and brought him back to Gambhira and loudly chanted for many hours the holy names of Krishna. And finally, Hari Hari, he came to external consciousness. And he asked, "Why did you bring me here?" He said, "I was with Krishna in the pastures of Vrindavan. And while Krishna roamed through the pastures, he played his flute. He called Sri Radharani by the song of his flute. And Radha and Krishna entered into one of the kunjas. And among Radha Gopinath and their gopis, I followed. And I could hear the sweet song of the flute, and I could hear the laughter of Radha and Krishna, and I could hear the tinkling of their ankle bells and their ornaments. And I was relishing this nectar, and suddenly I heard this loud, tumultuous sound, and you brought me out of Vrindavan here. Why have you done this? And Swarup Damodar Goswami explained, these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's ecstasies of love fill the Antya Lila of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the conclusion, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's in the Gambhira, in the most intimate, ecstatic moments of his revealing the treasure of prema. Kaviraj Goswami says, sometimes the Lord would be absorbed in a particular emotion and would stay awake all night reciting related verses and relishing their taste. Now this is the conclusion. In great jubilation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my dear Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, I'm sorry for going back, but this is after he's revealing the deepest ecstasies that this world has ever seen. This is his conclusion. My dear Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, know from me that chanting the holy names is the most feasible means of salvation in this age of Kali. In this age of Kali, the process of worshiping Krishna is to perform sacrifice by chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who does so is certainly very intelligent, and he attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya recites, Krishna Varnam Tvisa Krishnam Sangopanga Shaparasharam Yagyai Sankirtana Praya Yajantihi Sumedasaha. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Lord Chaitanya tells, simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one could be freed from all undesirable habits. This means the awakening of all good fortune and initiating the flow of waves of love of Krishna. The next verses, Lord Chaitanya is composing and reciting Shikshastakam. He's chanting each verse of Shikshastakam. And explaining the meaning. This is where Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita concludes. These 8 verses glorifying how the holy name of the Lord, the Sankirtan movement, can bring us from the initial stages of cleansing the heart to the ecstatic bhav of the residents of Vrindavan and the consciousness to be developed, to evolve through receiving the mercy of the holy names. Yes, here in Jagannath Puri, such a profound appreciation we can pray to acquire for what Srila Prabhupada sacrificed his life to share with all of us. When devotees asked, what was our qualification for receiving the treasure of the Panchatattva and Mahaprabhu, the treasure of Vrindavan? Srila Prabhupada, he said, with all humility, you had no qualifications. I made your qualifications. We come to Jagannath Puri for this yatra to inspire deeper and deeper relationships with devotees from all over the world, and hopefully to establish relationships that will carry on for our whole lives. To feel grateful and dependent on the blessings and the mercy of other Vaishnavas is actually what Gauranga Lila is. To ever aspire, through our experience the last week in Puri, to keep focused on the great treasure of the gift that our gurus and Gauranga have given us. So many temptations, so many distractions, so many heartbreaks, challenges. That is part of life. We come on pilgrimage to infuse and recharge our hearts with faith and enthusiasm for the process of devotional service, associating with devotees, serving devotees, appreciating devotees, chanting the holy name sincerely, attentively every day, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and the Holy Scriptures. These 9 processes of devotional service that have been given to us is our real wealth. We come on pilgrimage as a reminder that this is really our life and soul. Some will be returning to brahmachari ashrams. Some will be returning to their grihastha ashrams, wherever it may be. But Puri should never leave our hearts. One of the most wonderful blessings of a pilgrimage is the experiences, the inspirations, and the memories that we can hold in our hearts and recall. Sri Rupa Goswami describes one of the 5 most important processes of devotional service is come to the holy places, to associate with the devotees of the Lord. We will end with some announcements of gratitude, and then we'll have our final kirtan. We conclude our Kartik Jagannath Puri Yatra thanking you and praying. Let us all keep this holy pilgrimage alive within our heart wherever we go. Thank you very much.